Imagine standing on a windswept beach in Oregon, the kind where the Pacific Ocean roars like it's got a story to tell, and the air smells of salt and freedom. That's where Evelyn Calder Evie to everyone who knows her spends her days now. At 68, she's a woman who's lived a life full of flour-dusted aprons and warm ovens. For decades, she ran Calder's coastal bake shop in the little seaside town of Tillamook, a place where fishermen and tourists alike would line up for her cinnamon rolls and sourdough loaves. Her hands, once quick and steady, kneaded dough like they were sculpting dreams. But these days, those hands are slower, and they're scratching more than they're shaping. Evie's not one to complain. She's the type who'd rather watch the waves crash against the rocks from her weathered wooden porch than fuss over herself. Her little house sits perched on a bluff, a cozy nest of cedar planks and mismatched furniture, with a tabby cat named Rusty purring at her feet. She's got a radio that crackles with old country tunes Johnny Cash and Patsy Cline and a kettle that's always ready to whistle. Retirement suits her, or at least it did until a few months ago, when something strange started creeping into her quiet life. It wasn't the wind, though it howls plenty out there. It wasn't the damp chill that seeps into her bones on foggy mornings. It was an itch. Not just one, but four stubborn, nagging itches that showed up like uninvited guests and refused to leave. It started with her feet. Evie's always loved walking barefoot along the shore, feeling the cold sand squish between her toes as she hunted for shells or bits of sea glass. But lately, her feet, those tough, callous soles that carried her through years of standing in the bakery, started to itch. Not a quick tickle she could brush off with a swipe of lotion, but a deep, persistent prickle that woke her up at night. She'd sit on the edge of her bed, Rusty blinking at her in the moonlight, and scratch until her skin turned pink. Must be the salt air drying me out, she told herself, slathering on some drugstore cream. But the itch didn't care about her excuses. It stayed. Then came her shoulders. Evie's got broad shoulders, the kind built from years of lifting trays of bread and rolling out dough. She used to shrug off aches like they were nothing, but now there's this itch creeping across her upper back, right where she can't quite reach. It's worst in the evenings when she's curled up by the fireplace, the glow casting shadows on the walls. She'll twist and turn, trying to get at it with a wooden spoon or the edge of a chair, but it's like chasing a ghost. Maybe it's the wool sweater, she muttered one night, tossing it into the laundry basket. But even in her softest cotton shirt, the itch lingered, a quiet nag that made her wonder if something was off. Next, her scalp joined the party. Evie's hair is a wild tangle of silver curls, the kind that catch the wind like a kite. She's always been proud of it, brushing it out each morning while humming along to the radio. But now, her scalp itches like it's got a mind of its own. It's not dandruff, she checked in the mirror, tilting her head this way and that under the bathroom light. It's deeper, a buzzing irritation that makes her rake her nails across her head until her curls are a mess. Could be the shampoo, she thought, switching to a gentler brand. No dice. The itch stayed, especially at night when she'd lie awake, listening to the waves and wondering why her body wouldn't let her rest. And then there's her lower belly, right below her navel. Evie's never been one to fuss over her figure. She's got the soft curves of a woman who's lived well and fed others even better. But this itch across her abdomen feels different, tender and dry, like her skin's crying out for something she can't give it. It's worst after dinner, when she's sitting with a cup of tea, staring out at the darkening sea. She'll press her fingers against it, hoping it's just a passing thing, but it's not. Maybe I'm eating too much salt, she said to Rusty one evening, half joking. The cat just yawned, but Evie couldn't shake the feeling that these itches were more than random annoyances. For Spot's feet, shoulders, scalp, and belly. For little whispers that started soft and grew louder, like the tide creeping up the shore. At first, Evie brushed them off. She's 68, after all. Bodies get creaky and cranky with age, right? The wind's harsh out here, the winters are damp, and she's not as spry as she used to be. But as the weeks turned into months, those itches didn't fade. They dug in deeper, like sand in a shoe you can't shake out. And with them came a quiet unease, a nagging thought she couldn't ignore. What if her body was trying to tell her something? What if these itches weren't just quirks of getting older, but red flags waving in the wind, warning her of something bigger? You see, Evie's not alone in this. Studies like ones from the Journal of the American Academy of Dermatology have shown that chronic itching in older adults isn't always what it seems. It's not just dry skin or a bad sweater. Sometimes it's a signal, a subtle SOS from your body that something's out of balance. Doctors have linked persistent itches to serious stuff per blood flow, liver trouble, nerve stress, even nutritional gaps that can chip away at your years. Evie doesn't know this yet, but those 4 itchy spots on her body might be more than a nuisance. They might be clues to problems that could steal her strength, her clarity, even her time watching the waves roll in. Take her feet, for instance. That deep itch could mean her blood's not moving like it should, a condition called peripheral artery disease that starves the legs of oxygen. Or her shoulders, could that be her liver whispering that it's struggling to keep up? Her scalp, buzzing with irritation, maybe her nerves are frayed from more than just the wind. And her belly? That tender itch might be her body begging for nutrients it's not getting anymore. Evie doesn't have the answers yet, but she's starting to wonder. She's starting to listen. Picture her now, standing on that bluff as the sun dips low, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The wind tugs at her curls, and she scratches her shoulder absent-mindedly, her eyes fixed on the horizon. She's lived a good life, built a business, fed a town, watched kids grow up on her pastries. But at 68, she's not ready to fade away. She wants more mornings with Rusty, more walks on the beach, more batches of bread to share. And yet, these itches feel like they're pulling her back, like anchors dragging her down when all she wants is to keep sailing. Have you ever felt something like that? A little ache, a strange tingle, a sign your body's trying to get your attention? Maybe it's not an itch for you, maybe it's a stiffness in your knees or a fog in your head. But whatever it is, what if it's not just noise? What if it's a message, a quiet plea from the only home you've got? Evie's starting to ask herself that question, and it's scaring her more than she'd like to admit. Because here's the thing, a small itch might seem like nothing until it's everything. Until it's the last whisper you hear before the tide turns. So as the Oregon night settles in, and Evie pulls her shawl tighter against the chill, she's left with a choice. Ignore the itches and hope they fade, or dig deeper and face what they might mean. She doesn't know it yet, but those 4 spots, feet, shoulders, scalp, and belly, are about to take her on a journey she never expected. A journey that might not just save her health, but remind her what it means to live. What would you do if you were her? Would you listen to the whispers or wait until they start to shout? The Oregon coast doesn't sleep easy. The waves crash against the rocks all night long, a restless rhythm that Evie Calder has always found comforting. But lately, that sound feels more like a drumbeat keeping time with her worries. She's 68 now, standing at the edge of her little world in Tillamook, and those 4 itches, feet, shoulders, scalp, and belly aren't just background noise anymore. They're front and center, clawing at her peace like gulls fighting over scraps. Evie's not one to overthink things. She's spent her life measuring flour and sugar, not fears, but these days, she can't shake the feeling that her body's trying to tell her something she's not ready to hear. Let's start with her feet. Evie's always been a walker. Back when she ran Calder's Coastal Bake Shop, she'd trek down to the docks at dawn, delivering warm loaves to fishermen before the sun peaked over the horizon. Now, her walks are shorter, just a shuffle along the beach to feel the sand under her toes. But that itch in her feet, it's relentless. It's not just dry skin from the salty wind, though she tried telling herself that for weeks. It's a deep, gnawing prickle that spreads from her arches to her ankles, worse when she's been still too long. One morning, she stopped halfway down the shore, her breath puffing in the cold, and noticed her feet felt heavy, almost numb. She rubbed them, scratched them, but the itch stayed, and her toes stayed cold. According to the Mayo Clinic, this could be more than a quirk of age. It might be peripheral artery disease, where blood struggles to flow through the tiny vessels in her legs. Poor circulation doesn't just dry out the skin, it starves the muscles, strains the heart, and whispers warnings of heart disease or stroke. Evie doesn't know the science yet, but she feels the weight. She misses the days when her feet carried her without complaint. Then there's her shoulders. Evie's got a baker's build, strong, broad, made for hauling sacks of flour and trays of dough. But now, her upper back itches like it's betraying her. It's worst at night, when she's sitting by the fireplace with Rusty curled up beside her, the crackle of the logs drowning out the radio. She'll reach back with a wooden spoon, jabbing at the spot between her shoulder blades, but it's no use. The itch is deep, stubborn, like it's coming from inside. She's noticed other things, too. Her skin looks a little yellow in the morning light, and she's been so tired lately, more than the wind or the years can explain. The hepatology journal says this could be her liver talking. When it's struggling to filter toxins, maybe from years of rich pastries, or just time wearing it down, those poisons build up in the blood, irritating the skin where nerves cluster, like the back. Evie's starting to wonder if her body's been keeping secrets, and the thought makes her stomach twist. Her scalp's no better. Those silver curls she's always loved are a battleground now. The itch buzzes across her head, sharp and insistent, like static she can't tune out. She'll sit on her porch, watching the waves, and catch herself scratching until her nails are tangled in her hair. It's not lice or flakes she's checked a dozen times, squinting into a hand mirror with a frown. It's deeper, like her nerves are frayed and firing off signals they shouldn't. The National Institute of Aging ties this kind of itching to stress, the kind that creeps up on you in your later years. Evie's been restless since she closed the bakery. Nights are long, and her mind spins with worry she can't name. What if it's more than stress? What if it's her brain, her memory, starting to slip? She forgot the ratio for her famous lemon bread last week, a recipe she could recite in her sleep. That scared her more than the itch itself. She's not ready to lose the pieces of herself that matter most. In her lower belly, that's the quietest itch, but maybe the loudest warning. It's a tender, dry irritation that spreads across her abdomen, right below her navel, like her skin's begging for something it's lost. It flares up after meals, when she's sipping tea and staring out at the sea. Evie's appetite's been fading. She used to bake and taste test all day, but now she picks at toast or skips dinner altogether. She's softer around the middle than she'd like, but she feels weaker, too, like her energy's leaking away. Harvard Health points to malabsorption, a sneaky thief in older adults where the gut stops pulling in nutrients like vitamin B12, zinc, or fatty acids. When that happens, the skin dries out, nerves misfire, and the whole body slows down. Evie doesn't know she might be starving inside, even with a full plate. She just knows she's not herself, and that itch across her belly feels like a plea she can't answer. For itches, for voices, all talking at once. Evie's tried everything: lotions, new soaps, even a humidifier humming in her bedroom to fight the coastal damp. Nothing works. She's starting to see a pattern, though. The itches get worse when she's tired, when she's still, when she's alone with her thoughts. She'll stand in her kitchen, hands idle where they once kneaded dough, and feel them all at once: feet prickling, shoulders nagging, scalp buzzing, belly tender. It's like her body's staging a quiet rebellion, and she's not sure who's winning. She's scared to look too close, scared of what she might find, but ignoring it feels worse. What if these itches aren't random? What if they're her body's way of screaming when she's too stubborn to listen? Here's where you come in. If you're watching this far, I'd love to know you're with me. Drop a number 2 in the comments below to let me know you're here. And tell me this, have you ever felt your body trying to talk to you? Maybe an ache that won't quit? A sign you brushed off? Share it with me. I read every word, and your stories keep me going. Evie's wondering the same thing right now, and she's not alone. These itches aren't just hers, they're echoes of what so many of us feel as the years pile up. The question is, what do they mean? Picture Evie one stormy night, the wind rattling her windows as she sits with a cup of tea gone cold. She scratches her scalp, then her shoulder, then presses a hand to her belly, her feet tapping restlessly against the floor. She's always been a fighter, built a business from scratch, weathered storms both literal and not, but this feels different. It's not a foe she can face with a rolling pin or a smile. It's inside her, quiet and creeping, and it's wearing her down. She thinks about the bakery, the life she loved, the mornings she wants to keep. She thinks about Rusty, purring at her side, and the kids in town who still call her Miss Evie years after her last batch of cookies. She's not ready to let that go. But these itches, they're pulling her somewhere she doesn't want to follow. The science backs up her fears. Poor circulation in the feet can strain the heart. Liver trouble can sap your strength. Nerve stress can cloud your mind. Nutritional gaps can hollow you out from the inside. Evie doesn't have the words for it yet, but she feels the stakes. She's at a crossroads, staring out at a sea that's as restless as she is. She could keep pretending it's nothing, blame the wind, the years, the salt in the air. Or she could dig deeper, face the truth, and fight for the life she's not done living. The itches are loud now, louder than the waves, and they're asking her to choose. What would you do if your body started whispering like that? Would you turn away or lean in? The wind howls louder than ever tonight, rattling the windows of Evie Calder's little seaside house in Tillamook, Oregon. It's the kind of storm that makes the Pacific Ocean roar like a beast, waves slamming the shore with a fury that mirrors the chaos inside her. At 68, Evie's no stranger to rough weather. She's weathered decades of coastal winters, built a bakery from nothing, and faced down days when the ovens broke and the customers grumbled. But this storm feels different. It's not just outside her cedar walls, it's in her skin, her bones, her mind. Those 4 itches: feet, shoulders, scalp, and belly have turned from whispers to shouts, and they're dragging her to a place she's been too scared to face. It's been weeks since Evie first noticed the itch is getting worse. Her feet prickle so bad she can barely make it to the mailbox without stopping to scratch. Her shoulders nag like a debt she can't pay, the itch sinking deeper every night by the fireplace. Her scalp buzzes until she's clawing at it, her silver curls a tangled mess of frustration. In her lower belly it's tender now, a quiet ache that flares when she tries to eat, which isn't often anymore. She's down to tea and toast most days, her appetite lost somewhere between the wind and the worry. Rusty, her tabby cat, watches her with those big amber eyes like he knows something's wrong. And he's right. Evie's not herself. She's fading, and she can feel it. One gray morning, after a night of tossing and turning, she catches her reflection in the bathroom mirror. Her skin's got a faint yellow tinge, her eyes are dull, and her hands tremble as she brushes her hair. The itches hit all at once: feet, shoulders, scalp, belly, like a chorus she can't silence. That's when the fear cracks through her stubborn shell. What if this is it? The appointment's a blur of white coats and cold stethoscopes, but the results hit like a tidal wave. The doctor sits her down, his voice steady but serious. Her feet? Poor circulation, peripheral artery disease, just like the Mayo Clinic warned. Her blood struggling to reach her legs, putting strain on her heart. Her shoulders? Liver strain, confirmed by blood tests showing toxins building up, a quiet battle she didn't know she was fighting. Her scalp? Stress and nerve fatigue, tied to sleepless nights and a mind that won't rest, maybe even early signs of cognitive wear, says the National Institute of Aging. And her belly? Malabsorption, a gut that's not pulling in nutrients like vitamin B12, leaving her body starved despite her weight. Per Harvard Health. For itches, for truths, all pointing to a body crying for help. The doctor doesn't sugarcoat it. If she doesn't act, these could shorten her years: heart trouble, liver failure, memory loss, a slow fade she can't come back from. Evie drives home in silence, the rain streaking her windshield like tears she won't let fall. She sits on her porch, the storm raging, and feels the weight of it all. She's scared of hospitals, of pills, of losing the woman who baked bread and faced the world with a smile. She scratches her scalp, presses her belly, and wonders if she's got the fight left in her. The sea's a dark churn beyond the bluff, and for a moment, she thinks about giving up, letting the itches win, letting the tide take her. But then Rusty jumps into her lap, purring against her chest, and something shifts. She's not done. Not yet. She's Evie Calder, damn it, and she's faced worse than this. If her body's talking, she's going to listen, and she's going to answer. The doctor gave her a plan, simple but firm. For her feet, walk 15 minutes a day, slow at first, along the beach, letting the sand wake her circulation. For her liver, cut the salt and sip chamomile tea, a gentle balm for a tired organ. For her scalp, try meditation 5 minutes by the window, breathing with the waves to calm her nerves. For her belly, eat real food again: salmon from the local market, walnuts, spinach, a multivitamin to fill the gaps. It's not fancy, but it's a start. Evie's skeptical: can something so small fix something so big? But she's got nothing to lose, so she begins. The first week's rough. Her feet ache on those walks, the itch fighting back like it's mad she's moving. Her shoulders prickle as she sips tea instead of coffee, her old habits grumbling. Her scalp buzzes through every meditation, her mind racing when she wants it still. And her belly? The food sits heavy, like her gut's forgotten how to work. But she keeps going. She walks a little farther each day, the cold air stinging her lungs. She brews tea with Rusty at her feet, the warmth seeping into her hands. She sits by the window, counting breaths until the buzzing fades. She cooks simple meals, fish and greens, tasting life again. And slowly, so slowly she almost misses it, the itches start to quiet. 3 months later, Evie's a different woman. The storm's passed, and the sun's out, glinting off the waves like a promise. Her feet still tingle sometimes, but they carry her a full mile now, shells clinking in her pockets. Her shoulders ease up, the yellow tinge fading from her skin, energy creeping back. Her scalp's calmer, she meditates every morning, and last week, she remembered her lemon bread recipe without a hitch. Her belly settled, the itch gone, her appetite back with a vengeance. She's baking again, small batches for herself and Rusty. The itches aren't silent, but they're whispers now, not shouts, and Evie's listening closer than ever. She's not just surviving, she's living. One afternoon, she walks into town, her steps steady, and sees kids playing by the docks. On a whim, She offers to teach them her cinnamon roll recipe, free, just for the joy of it. They call her Miss Evie again, their sticky hands tugging at her heart. She's back in the kitchen, not a bakery, but a classroom, her mind sharp, her spirit bright. The itches didn't break her, they woke her up. They were a call to fight, to heal, to reclaim the years she's got left. And as she stands there, flour on her apron, laughter in the air, she knows this isn't the end. It's a beginning. Evie's story isn't just hers, it's ours. Those itches, those whispers, they're in all of us, waiting for us to hear them. Maybe yours isn't an itch, maybe it's a creak in your joints, a fog in your thoughts, a tiredness you can't shake. But whatever it is, it's not nothing. It's your body asking you to care, to move, to live. Evie found her way back with a walk, a breath, a bite of fish, not miracles, just choices. And you can, too. The science says it, the heart knows it. Small steps can turn the tide. So here's my question for you. What's your body whispering today? What's one thing you could do right now to answer it? Drop it in the comments, I'd love to hear. Because if Evie can fight the storm, so can you. And trust me, the light on the other side? It's worth it.